Well, hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey everybody.
So today is a very, very special episode. And why is it special? It's the holidays. So happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
So this is going to be a really fun show. It's going to be about Christmas cryptids and Christmas monsters, which is something you don't usually equate to the Christmas or the holiday season. I guess we should say holiday monsters, but yeah, so we went ahead and we brought back Rissa Miller. Now, if you don't know who Rissa Miller is, we did a show with her on witches and
History of Witchcraft.
Yeah, the History of Witchcraft, which is a great show. So, but yeah, we had a blast. She agreed to come back on and school us on this subject because I don't know anything about it.
I know very little about it.
But yeah, so we were really excited to have her back on, and I think at this particular point,
Let's bring her on.
Let's bring her on. Hey everybody. Hi Rissa, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. I love Generation X Paranormal, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm super pumped. I know we've been looking forward to this for a while. I think that, as our listeners know, you were on before, and every time we got closer and closer, I'm like, how soon until Rissa's back?
Yeah, we have, actually.
But no, that's awesome. So today we are talking about Christmas cryptids and cryptid monsters, or however that fits under that umbrella. But,
yeah. So, I do a live talk presentation that I call the 13 Unmerry Monsters of Christmas. And I also do like a larger thing called Creepy Christmas. It's not just the monsters. It talks about like how we like poisonous flowers for our Christmas and all kinds of other things that are really interesting and very ironic when you examine them as more than just accepting. You actually look at them. It's really pretty fascinating.
For sure.
But the monsters are my favorite. The Christmas cryptids, and I've never personally met any of them. I have seen Krampus reenactors, and I have seen Belsnickel reenactors, and they're the only two that I've encountered in any way. But I'm open if any of them should show up.
Yeah, if they happen to show, why not, right?
That may be a good thing.
Maybe I just don't misbehave enough. Perhaps that's the problem.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that I may or may not misbehave at times. So they may show up.
Just not enough.
Just not enough.
There's a line. Yeah.
I'm like misbehaving light. I don't know. But, and I think we said this before we started, but you definitely have me at an advantage because I know nothing about them. So I'm super excited. But
I know barely anything.
Right,
so
right.
You're going to be teaching us as well.
So I mean, if you just kind of want to get started with the first one up, I'm excited to hear it.
Well, let me give you a teeny tiny bit of background. I won't drag this part out too long, but Christmas actually falls on and or around the winter solstice. And that's where all of these stories root from, mostly, because winter solstice is the darkest night of the year. It is the longest night of the year. It's actually a scientific phenomenon. It has to do with the fact that whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, winter solstice is either in December or June. But we're in the northern hemisphere, so ours is in December. It always falls between the 20th and 23rd, and it became a time of celebration. It was the moment when the dark night started pivoting back into the light. And the festival would usually go for 12 days. It was called Yule, right. Y-U-L-E. And we still have that word, Yuletide.
Yep.
Especially
Yule
in
log.
Christmas.
Yule logs.
Yule log.
Yeah.
Exactly. All of these things are still with us, but they've sort of been watered down and lost their meaning over time. So Yule went for 12 days, and when the Christians came in and took over the pagan holidays in Europe, they just sort of stole them. I guess the word we would use now is appropriate.
Right.
Appropriated them. And it's true. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Any historian could tell you that.
Sure.
But from that point of view, some of the other parts of Yule were appropriated as well. And I'm trying to think of an easy example. So before I say anything about Santa Claus, it's important to know that he had nothing at all to do with Christmas, with the birth of Jesus, or with Yule.
Right.
Totally separate entity.
I'm aware
Totally
of that,
separate.
Yes.
But the Yule log did have to do with Yule, and so did the Yule boar. So the Yule boar was a pig that was sort of like groomed all year and was, made out to be this pig to be superior to all pigs. And it was a great honor to raise the Yule boar historically. If you had your village or town's Yule boar, it was a big deal. It meant you were an excellent farmer. So the Yule boar would be paraded through the streets and everybody would try to touch it. Now, here's the beginning origin story of New Year's resolutions. If you touched the Yule boar, you had to make a promise to do better in the new year. Now, it could have been like, I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to drink less ale. I'm going to work harder on my farm. I'm going to make better baskets. Historically, whatever would have doing better might have been to the folks who were alive then. But that's sort of one of the beginnings of the New Year's resolution tradition we still have today.
That's cool.
Now back to the boar. Back to this poor pig. After he's paraded through the streets and people are pawing him and touching him, which was probably shocking to this poor animal, then he would be slaughtered. And before the king, of course, or, the head of the village, the mayor, whoever might have been in charge of that particular area, or duke, whatever, then they would be cutting this poor dead animal after he was, on a roasted spit into as many tiny pieces as possible because everybody was supposed to get a piece of the Yule boar.
Okay.
And I assume they would, scrap him down to the bones because everybody wanted some of that luck, some of that, supreme, perfect Yule boar.
Right.
And today, it is still very traditional to eat ham or pork at Christmas dinner.
That's true.
I did not.
Yep.
I did never
I would
put
have
that
never.
together.
No.
Unfortunately, when you started talking about the Yule pig, I'm like, I know how that's going to end already.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't end well for the pig.
Yeah, right.
I personally have been vegan for 28 years, so it's not a tradition I observe, but I know a lot of people observe it. And growing up, my grandparents always had ham for Christmas dinner. Every Christmas dinner, it had to be a ham.
Right.
And so when I found out this tradition, I thought, wow, like this is still very much in practice. It is still something that everybody does. And they always told me it was unlucky if you didn't have ham for Christmas dinner.
Interesting.
So
We've been unlucky for a long time.
Not a fan
It's usually
of pork.
turkey or something.
I've never liked pork. Never could.
No, we're not a big fan of pork. No.
well, that's okay. You don't have to observe every old tradition.
Right.
I kind of think luck is something that maybe you make yourself.
I agree 100%
I agree.
on that.
Yeah. So all of these old stories come from the original Yule. Now, some people say Saturnalia, which was a Roman holiday celebrated at the winter solstice, could be part of it. Or the Wild Hunt, which was Odin's ride through the sky when he would collect souls. So those things, maybe. Especially when we get into the Yule goat. I mean, Odin had goats, but and they pulled his chariot through the sky. But that said, my research, my feeling is that a lot of the pagan traditions that, as Americans, we still observe came from Yule. Saturnalia, maybe some people's tradition came from that. It was like day after day of like drunken debauchery and wild orgies. And,
Okay. Yeah.
if that's how you celebrate, then, do you.
Right.
But I don't think that's part of everybody's holiday tradition. Maybe
I don't think
New
I
Year's
could
Eve.
spring that one on our parents. Hey, you want to just, that would be really awkward, I think.
Like I said, not everybody's tradition.
Right.
Maybe at certain points in your life, college.
Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of these monsters that are now associated with Christmas, they came from different traditions around the world, and almost all of them are cautionary tales about being punished if you're not good. And we always think of Santa Claus or Saint Nick, Father Christmas as the kind giver, as the person who is going to show up and bring presents, or historically it would have been more like fruit and nuts or candy. Presents have become quite an elaborate thing, but that's not an old tradition, that's a new tradition. Thank you, commercialism.
Yes.
But,
no kidding. Right.
yeah. But that tradition was originally sharing food gifts or small toys, things like that. That's what Santa would have brought, before the mid-1900s.
Right.
And people were thrilled with that. People thought that was great.
Yeah.
Sure. I
So-
mean, there wasn't as much food available back then, so something like that would
Exactly.
be Right.
Exactly.
Big present, yeah.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution changed food forever.
Sure did.
Especially fruit, right? Because they didn't eat a ton of fruit.
Well, you could only get what you could grow locally. You know, because there weren't transports before there were trains and things like that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So fruit, sugar, things like that were for the very rich or for people who happened to live where they grew. Sugar was a big luxury. You might
Right.
get, you know, a little bit every year.
Yeah.
Now it's in everything we touch.
That's even in stuff you
Enter
don't
the
think
health
it's gonna be.
crisis.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, yes, there are good things that came with modernization, but then there are also things that are not so great for us.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. Yes.
So, you know, looking at these monsters, most of them started out accompanying whatever the St. Nicholas figure was. Now, the St. Nicholas figure was actually based on a real person. St. Nicholas was Greek. He would have been a person with, you know, dark skin, dark hair in his life. He was born to a very wealthy family, but he sort of cast off his worldly possessions, and he was a very kind person. He supported a lot of charitable causes, and he was sainted in his lifetime. So he became Saint Nicholas. He was the patron saint of children and also of New York City. Not during his lifetime. That came later. Prostitutes and butchers.
Interesting combination.
Yeah, I don't know who's in charge of these things, but
Yes.
I'm just here to report the data.
Yep.
So
That's funny how children are somehow linked
Yep.
to that. And
Yeah.
prostitution, sure, that's not a problem
well,
at
they
all.
need a patron saint too. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard
Yeah,
work.
I agree. I don't know if
So-
I'd give it to the person that's the patron saint of children, but hey, what do I know?
Multitasking.
Yes.
Right.
We'll just take care of those in need.
And you know, New York City definitely needs a patron saint. So
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So St. Nicholas would traditionally come, and he would be accompanied by what we call the anti-Santas. And almost every country had their own. Everybody knows Krampus. So
Yes.
let's start there.
Yay.
And, you know, I have to show off. This is one of my little Krampuses. This is,
Cute.
yeah, isn't he ridiculously adorable?
He is very adorable.
And then I have this, I have like a gingerbread Krampus. So he's also very adorable.
Oh,
wow,
that's
look at
cool.
that.
The tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tongue is a traditional look for Krampus. He is the Christmas demon. So there's a lot of debate among historians if Krampus was a pagan figure before he became associated with Christian Christmas.
Okay.
It's probably lost to time.
Yes. Yes.
We will probably never know exactly where Krampus originated. Germany, Austria, one of those countries. And that's where he's big, right? Even
Yeah.
to this
Right.
day, the Krampus parades there, the Krampuslofts are a huge deal. They're big, they're extravagant, everybody goes. And Krampus comes the night before the Feast of St. Nicholas, which is
Okay.
usually December 5th or 6th.
Okay.
So,
early on.
Krampus
Yeah.
is the Punisher, right? Krampus is the the man with the basket who collects the bad children to take them back to hell and eat. But if they're not that bad, he might just whip them with some switches. I do have switches here with me tonight. Let me see if I can grab them.
That reminds me, I hate to say it, but the one thing about Krampus I do remember is the show The Office. I don't know if
No,
you're
that's
familiar
not-
with
that's not-
That was Belsnickel.
That's
That was
Belsnickel.
Belsnickel, that's right.
However, there are more than 10 major motion pictures with Krampus, so
That's
you
probably
can
what I get
definitely
confused
catch him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's even got his own Funko Pop, and he's
really?
available at Walmart. I mean, he's
Wow.
arrived. You know,
Oh, that's
if you're at
awesome.
Walmart, you're right.
He has arrived.
right?
Yeah.
So I can't even fit the switches on the screen.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Those are huge.
Yeah. I've never whipped anybody with these. We totally,
That's good.
be totally upfront about this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm kind of a bookworm. I
But I mean,
talk about all these crazy things, but for the most part, I'm a bookworm.
oh, and that's cool. But man, that's no joke. Those are some sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are a bad child or a bad woman, you'll see this theme again. Krampus will show up and give you what you deserve, which is not fruit and candy and nuts. It is a thrashing. So he would sometimes walk with Saint Nick and sometimes arrive by himself the night before. So these days, Krampus is kind of a big deal. He's really popular. He's showing up everywhere. I even was able to pick up a Krampus coloring book.
Oh, wow.
For that special
Serious.
child in your life, I suppose. If they
I'm curious to
want to color
see
in
what the pictures are.
the Christmas demon here.
Merry
wow.
Christmas! I bought you a nightmare.
Yeah.
This is a warning for next year.
Yeah,
He's taking a selfie here.
nice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course he's
Yeah.
taking a selfie.
Yeah. So, he's got coloring books. He's got a Funko Pop. Krampus is huge.
That's awesome,
And-
though.
It is kind of fun. I grew up, and my folks didn't know these old stories. They knew if you were bad, you got a lump of coal, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or
That's-
nothing.
right.
Also nothing.
Yeah,
So, but nowadays we've revived these old monsters, and honestly, I feel like they're so much more effective than a lump of coal.
oh yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I was a precocious kid, and I would say things like a lump of coal. Like, could we use it in the grill?
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, that made perfect sense.
Yeah.
because
It has
that's the kind of
utility.
child I was.
Yeah, I mean, it
and I
does
mean,
have a
nothing really
use.
happens to you, just
I think
Yeah.
the
lump
Or
of
you
coal.
get nothing.
yeah.
The worst thing that ever happened to me is I was dumb enough. My mom listens, so she'll get a good kick out of this. But I went and opened up and peeked at every single one of my presents one year. I'm not kidding you. If a present was under there with my name on it, I looked at it. So, needless to say,
Were there any socks?
no. But there probably is. There would have been afterwards. But the funny thing is being the young precocious idiot I was at that time, I didn't think to put the tape back exactly the way it looked, so there was no hiding it. So she does one of those, is there something you should tell me type conversations with me? Of course. No, everything's fine. Wrong. So she took them all and hid them. Now she told me that she took them to Toys for Tots and gave them to kids. So like, I'm not kidding you, from like the very beginning of, I want to even say like December, I thought I didn't have any Christmas coming to me. Now, I rationalize that as, well, I was pretty stupid. I probably deserve it. But when you're that young, I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm not going to get any Christmas. Well, I let the story out. On Christmas Day, she brings all the
Yes.
presents out and says, yeah, don't ever do that again.
But you didn't do it again, did you?
Yeah. I would have rather had Krampus come and whack me with the stick to think that I was not going to get any Christmas presents. But, yeah.
The idea of getting nothing is pretty rough. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would concur that that's, for most children in our culture, that's a grim moment.
For sure.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
Although, honestly, like the idea that they went to Toys for Tots, at least you could feel good about it.
Yeah. I mean, I
sort of.
rationalized that a little bit as a kid, but
feel
honestly,
good at
I did
all.
not feel good about it at all. I got to be honest, it would have broke my heart. But I was also pretty realistic about my punishments back then. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And like you said, you definitely kind of had it coming,
Oh yeah, I did for sure. Yeah. That's my fun little story on that one. You're welcome, Mom.
I'm going to take us from Krampus, who's kind of the Christmas monster rock star right now.
Okay.
And head to Iceland.
Oh.
Now,
Okay.
Iceland is a fascinating place, and they don't have, well, they probably have Krampus now because everybody does.
Yeah.
But their Christmas monster setup is a little different. And they have one of my most favorite monsters, and it is the pet cat of a huge, like, bigger than life size woman named Gryla. Some people say Gryla. I'm going to go Gryla because that's how they said it on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which is never wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So Gryla is an ogre or an ogress. Ogress?
Ogress,
Is that the feminine of that? Yeah.
Sure.
She does have
If it
12
isn't,
sons.
it is now.
Yes. She does have 12 sons called the Yule Lads. And I'm going to read some of their names for you because, honestly, they're just too priceless to get wrong. We have Window Peeper, Spoon Licker, Door Slammer, Sausage Swiper, Skirt Blower, Bowl Licker, I mean, just you kind of get the idea, right?
Yes.
They,
Yes.
there are these 12 sort of unmarried boys that show up over 12 different days heading into the holiday season and do what they're going to do, like blow your skirt up in the air or eat your sausages or, lick the
things,
spoons
apparently.
and bowls in your kitchen. Yeah. Basically, they just create a great deal of mischief, and Gryla's their mom.
Okay.
So they only come out one day a year, so it's not that bad, right?
No.
Much
That's a
worse
new one.
in my mind
Yeah.
is Gryla's pet cat. So Yule Cat is a cat that's several stories tall, like taller than a 2-story house.
Wow.
And Yule Cat comes on Christmas night. Traditionally shown as black, although I've seen other color Yule Cats as well. Maybe she has more than one. And Yule Cat will look in your windows to see if anybody gifted you clothing. And if you were not gifted clothing, you better pray for your life, because Yule Cat is going to come inside, eat your Christmas dinner, and then eat you. So the rationale is, in Iceland, this is an old story, remember, if nobody thought enough of you to gift you any clothing, not even a scarf or a pair of socks, you're a truly worthless human being and you don't deserve to live.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
yeah,
a little
it's pretty rough.
Tis the season.
Tis the season for Yule Cat to come and eat you
Jeez.
and your dinner. So it's like, Yule Cat's not just going to kill you, but it's going to wipe out your pantry too.
I mean, someone better be buying me clothes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's so interesting because nobody wants to get clothes on Christmas, or
Right.
kids at least.
no, that's true.
Kids-
That's an
don't.
interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting twist.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
Yeah.
That's one reason I wanted to share that story.
That's awesome.
I've always been fond of it.
yeah. So for
and,
those of you who are upset for getting clothes this Christmas,
Be thankful.
be thankful. If not, a
That's right.
2-story cat's gonna make you your lunch. So
Yep.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yep,
I've never heard that one.
absolutely. It's a good one. And I encourage you and all of your listeners to get on Google and look up images of Yule Cat.
Oh, I'm so going to.
Yeah.
They are endlessly amusing, somewhat scary. And you can even now buy Christmas ornaments of Yule Cat. And there's like this huge cat snaked around a house peeking in the window.
Oh, I think we
wow.
gotta find one of those.
Yeah, we do. That's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah. A little spooky, but also so festive.
Well, we usually set up those, those cities with the
Villages.
little village.
Yeah, the holiday villages.
Right, right. I think we may need to find
We need
one.
to get a Yule Cat.
Add a Yule Cat to your
Yule
Christmas
Cat.
village. Well, then, while you're out shopping, you might want to consider adding a Yule Goat as well.
Okay.
Yule Goat is another of my very favorites of the Christmas monsters. And Yule Goat has several different origin points. So I'm going to just tell you my favorite.
Okay.
My favorite is the Yule Goat that shows up to judge you, to see if your decorations are good enough. And if they're not, Yule Goat's going to headbutt your house and break down your door and come inside and just eat whatever he wants.
Holy crap.
There's a lot of judgment around these times.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judgment. I do have a Yule Goat here with me. He's very
Awesome.
cute.
He is very cute.
Pretty awesome,
Yeah.
actually.
He's quite adorable.
Yeah.
I enjoy Yule Goat. I'm not going to lie. I leave Yule Goat out all year long.
Why wouldn't you? He's pretty cool. Plus, you don't want him hitting your house.
Right? I mean, he's a pretty darn cute guy. But yeah, he's my Yule Goat, and he reminds me all year long to keep it together, make sure things look good, because I don't want to be judged by a Yule Goat. So
Yeah.
That's interesting.
which could mean so many things, right? But yeah, there's a lot of tradition with goats around Christmas. There are stories where goats pulled Santa's sleigh,
Right.
where there's also a fascinating tradition of burning a huge goat made of the last wheat of the harvest
Oh.
as a gesture to the gods to have another good harvest in the coming year. Now, this
Okay.
didn't go well one year. I believe it was Sweden, where one of them also caught fire to a building.
Oh,
but I
geez.
mean, these Yule goats they build are enormous. They're so big. And again, this is something that your followers can Google and see pictures of, because
That's
it's
one heck of a Burning
really
Man.
stunning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge. They're huge. They're
Yeah.
really quite pretty too.
That's cool.
It's interesting because, I guess when you think about it, goats were much more prevalent
yes.
long ago, whereas nowadays, they're, I mean, they still are, but you don't see them in people's everyday life. But back then, that wasn't necessarily the case. You had a goat for a lot of different reasons, right? Yeah.
Everybody had goats.
Right.
You would have a goat for milk, for eating, for companionship, for clearing weeds in your yard. You would have a goat that did its work, and then when you retired it, you probably eat it.
Right.
So goats were much more prevalent, and they're hardworking, although ornery animals. And I think if any animal was going to show up and judge you, a cat or a goat would be the ones.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
a cat for sure.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know the temperament of goats as much, but that wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, they're very ornery.
Right.
So yeah,
The only goat I ever met.
is real.
Funny enough, the only goat I ever really got that close to was at a petting zoo, and it ate my sweater when I was a kid. So
So there you go.
there you go.
It was setting you up for a visit from Yule Cat.
Probably so.
Yeah.
It was setting me up knowing that, a few years from now, buddy, you made the biggest mistake of your life by opening up gifts. But
A warning.
yeah, warning.
Again, cautionary tales, right?
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, a Christmas monster that was new to me this year, and it takes a lot for a Christmas monster to be new to me, was the New Hampshire dairy fairy. And I don't think this was going to be quite as terrifying, but I wanted to share it because, it's new to me. And so right before Christmas, a fellow named Alfred was out in the woods to cut down a Christmas tree. And he felt the sensation of being watched. And hilariously, we're in Derry, New Hampshire, and he lived on Barry Road. And I could probably make a clever rhyme from
Right.
that.
Yep.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. I didn't want to do that, though. I'm not going to go there right now. Maybe in a minute.
Yeah.
And
My mind is.
right? So then he looked up and he saw this creature watching him. It was 2 feet tall. It had like light green skin with wrinkles on it, like an elephant. Its eyes were kind of filmy, but almost like blank. And the story goes that this was some kind of UFO.
Okay.
Was sitting there watching him get his Christmas tree. And he decided, nobody will believe me. It's not like he had a camera. He couldn't take a picture. He tackled it. And the thing let out this like ear-piercing shriek. And they both ran away from each other. The guy forgets his Christmas tree. He goes in, his wife and daughter are there, and they're like, you can't tell anybody about this, like ever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2 years later, instead of keeping it to himself, he waits, a full 2 years. And then he starts writing letters to some astronomy center. And of course, the story gets out about the dairy fairy, which is like this tiny little alien that appeared when the guy was harvesting his Christmas tree the week before Christmas. So this is a true American story, true American
cool.
Christmas cryptid.
Wow.
And, and
neat.
I've seen drawings of what it was supposed to look like. I was like, it's kind of sad and cute.
Yeah. Or maybe upset that he was cutting down a Christmas tree.
Well, that too, yeah.
Cutting down a tree, period.
Maybe sad about the tree. Probably not happy to be tackled.
No,
yeah, no,
definitely
I
not
guarantee
that.
you're not too happy about getting tackled.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. It's
have
interesting
never
to
heard
have
of
a
that.
U.S.-based cryptid like that.
There aren't too many U.S.-based Christmas cryptids.
Right.
Most
Right.
of them are from other places.
Exactly. I mean, we're used to the traditional, Santa, those type things. So to have something kind of
I'm going to have to
original
look
like
that
that.
up after.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to
Oh,
put
yeah.
that on
That's
on
so
video.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other one that's new to me this year is the Hans Trapp Scarecrow. Now, this is actually about another spooky story. This one comes from France.
Okay.
So in the 1400s, this is based on a real person. There was a knight, and he was not just great at being a warrior, he was greedy AF.
Okay.
And he decided that he wanted not just the glory of being a knight, but also power and money and as much as possible. So he became just ruthless. And finally, they said that he was so ruthless, he was making a deal with the devil so that he could have more money and power. When word gets around to the church, his local church is like, this isn't cool, you have to step back. And Hans Trapp says no. And then the Pope himself intervenes.
Oh, wow.
And says, you have gone too far. You're way too greedy. I mean, if you know anything about Catholicism, you know that greed is one of the 7 deadly sins, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And to get papal involvement like that is...
Right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, he was a big deal socially as well.
Sure.
You know, being a knight was no small deal.
Right, yeah.
And so he's excommunicated from the church, and the local, I guess, what's the power structure in France? Is it a prince, a duke? Anyway, whoever's in charge of the town, forgive my mind being fuzzy on that.
Wow, I would have known
takes
that
his
2
land and
seconds ago.
property and moves him away from the town, says you have to leave. You can't stay here. And so they say that he goes to Germany and he's living in a shack. He's very angry. So on top of the fact that he wants to restore himself to power, he's now really, really, really mad. And he decides that he's mad enough that he's going to start eating people. Now, could this be from the deal he made with the devil? Or is it just that all good villains are cannibals? I don't know. But they say that he disguises himself with straw so that he looks like a scarecrow.
Okay.
And traps a young shepherd boy, like 8, 9, 10 years old, walking by. Takes him home, kills him, like literally stabs him, and this child dies, bleeds out, and then he cooks him and eats him. And at that moment, they say that the original man the story's based on dies. And now his spirit is alive as the scarecrow, still collecting children to kill, stabbing them, of course, and because he still wants to eat them. But because he's a spirit entity, the story says that he's insatiable. Wow. So he's a very dark story, and that one was definitely new to me. And if you look up Hans Trapp, Trapp,
Okay.
The drawings are scary.
Yeah,
the drawings
I
are
would
real
imagine
scary.
so.
Happy holidays. Golly.
I told you, it's going to be a creepy little Christmas.
That's cool. No, it's awesome. It's just like, my goodness.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. That's a new one.
That one was one of the darker ones that I've ever come across. There's also the Whipping Father out of France. So France is real big into beating children with
I was
these
just
creatures.
going to say, come over to France, have a good time, kick the crap out of some kids, and enjoy the holidays.
Yeah, right? So the Whipping Father, Pierre Foutard, actually travels with Saint Nick, again, much like Krampus. Okay. Now, Hans Trapp does his own thing. And I couldn't even find evidence that he only went after bad kids. He just went after anybody who was a child just because he was bitter and angry. Okay. But Pierre Foutard travels with St. Nicholas, Pierre Noël, and he's there for the bad kids. So he does carry a sack and a whip, kind of like Krampus. Okay. But the thing is, he's human. He's not a Christmas demon. He's he looks just like Santa Claus, but he's in black instead of red. And his deal is he just whips the bad kids, but the really bad kids, much like Krampus, he kills them and eats them. There was a variation on this story with French immigrants who came into New York City. And instead of killing them all, if a child was caught lying, he would cut out their tongue and eat it.
Yikes.
Which is also a bit dark.
Yeah.
To
be a kid at Christmas back then, be a little terrifying thing.
Well, I mean, it sure keep you honest. I mean,
I would never do anything wrong, like ever.
Oh, I'm sure I'd have been eaten or my tongue would be missing. Who knows? I was an idiot.
Well, I think that a lot of children test boundaries.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these stories come along because they won't listen to their parents or their neighbors or, the elders of their community. But a monster is terrifying.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever's in the shadows, you just don't know what's there or what it could do. And people were so much more, well, people are still superstitious. Let's get that out.
Yes.
But people were more superstitious back then and or superstitious about different things.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We're still superstitious.
Yeah,
There's a reason that 80% of black cats aren't adopted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
which is terrible and sad. It's nothing to do with Yule Cat.
Right.
No.
That poor cat.
Walking under ladders and
I mean,
so many things. Yeah.
The whole
yeah.
salt behind you and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, all of those are old superstitions, and I know so many people who still do them all. So yeah,
I mean, they're
and
based on
one
something.
of the biggest rationales. I was sitting, and there was a gentleman who was an engineer, and I saw him knock on wood, and I was like, that's a superstition. He goes, yeah, but it can't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
I
true, it
recently
can't hurt.
learned where that came from.
Yeah.
Which
I'm sure
story have
you.
you
I'm
heard?
sure you know, Rissa. He doesn't know.
No.
It was something about, I don't know if it was the pagans or the druids would knock on the trees to keep the fairies.
It was
Something
druids,
like
yeah.
that. Druids, yeah. To keep the fairies at bay, basically, not harming them.
Jeez.
But you could also
you think
call
you know
them
somebody.
that way.
And called them
Yeah.
as well, huh? Yeah.
You could
They
call
would knock
them.
on the tree,
Yeah.
Okay.
which
Well,
turned
I mean,
into
if you-
wood.
if you wanted
know.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
said, you guys had me at an advantage from the beginning.
No, I just recently learned that. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think which story to tell you next. There's just so many good ones. You know,
Well-
I'm gonna go this way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in Spain, they have a character called the Tio de Nadal. And it starts off with a log. And you bring the log into the house and you dress it up. And you could put a little bow tie on it or a face,
pretty cool.
And over the course of the days going into Christmas, you sing to it, you offer it candy, you feed it. You're trying to make it happy. Because on Christmas Eve, you want it to take a dump. You want it to go poop.
Okay.
Because it's going to poop out your presents. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
You like mine? I have a stuffed one. But look, he's got a frowny face. He's not happy. I guess he hasn't been sung to enough. But I can also reverse him and see now he's smiling.
That's so funny.
All right. Wasn't ready for that one.
No, it wasn't.
Wow.
So it's not a Christmas monster per
No.
se, but it's definitely different.
Oh, yeah. Where did that come from?
Merry Christmas. I got you some. Never mind. Excellent.
yeah, you know,
related.
It's still carried on today. It is a tradition that I don't know the origin story behind. I've not been able to dig that out from the halls of history. But there are special songs, there are traditions, and some cultures in Spain also beat it with sticks to try to get it to, poop out the gifts.
A Yule
So-
log.
It's like a Yule log, but it's a Tio de Nadal.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. There's
Wow.
another similar tradition in Spain called the pooper. And the pooper is a part of the nativity. It's actually a picture of a person with their pants down going number 2 that they sit in the nativity.
Are you serious?
I don't know why. I can't explain this to you. It's not like right next to like Jesus or anything, but it is a part of the nativity. And sometimes they even have celebrities represented, popular politicians or
Right,
actors or
yeah.
actresses, people like that, with their pants down, going potty in the nativity scene.
If we're ever in France,
I guess if
during
you
the
gotta go,
holidays,
you gotta go. No matter
we got to make sure we watch where we're walking. It's just wild.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so funny.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. I'm blown away.
So,
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah, didn't see that coming,
Did
you?
not see that coming.
No, not at all.
Within all these dark monster stories, there's got to be a little bit of bright light
Well,
too,
sure.
right?
Right.
Yeah, that was
We,
hilarious.
we
though,
needed a
wasn't it?
moment of comic relief.
That was a great pivot when you said, I don't know what I'm going to bring up next. Perfect.
But I think next I'll tell you my actual most favorite story of the Christmas monster. My favorite Christmas monster comes from Wales.
Okay.
And again, nobody knows the origin story of this grey mare. And her name is the Lwyd. And I do not speak Welsh. I'm doing my best to say that the right way.
Sure.
So if some of your listeners know how to say it properly, they can school me, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
So the Lwyd is part of a custom called wassailing. Now, when we say wassail in the United States, we mean spiced red wine,
Okay, yeah.
which is part of the story, but a
Okay.
small part of the story.
Okay.
So the wassail was an event. it was kind of like caroling, but also storytelling and dressing up and eating and drinking and walking around with a horse skeleton on a stick with ribbons off of it.
Okay.
That's the Mari Lwyd.
Okay.
And it's spelled Mari, capital Lwyd.
Okay.
So you would go out with some of your friends to go wassailing, and you would dress in finery. You would be really, you know, top hat, cloak, ready to go. And you would all sing songs and walk around, and you would stop at a house. And then the Mari Lwyd would knock on the door, and whoever opened would be challenged to a battle of rhymes by the skeleton horse. Think rap battle, but way older.
Right.
Okay.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
So if the Mari Lwyd takes the rhyme battle, and I'm not sure who judges it, to be honest with you, is it the wassailers? Is it the family inside? Or do you
Right.
just know when you've been beat by the skeleton horse?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like 8 Mile or something.
Yep.
Right? If the Mari Lwyd wins, you have to let all of the wassailers in the house and give them wine, punch, and food. Now, if the homeowner wins, the wassailers and the Mari Lwyd will go on their way to the next house, probably your next door neighbor. But it became a tradition to let Mari Lwyd in because they say to be visited by the skeleton horse was really good luck. I've never seen a Mari Lwyd in action. I would love to. It's kind of like one of my life goals to see one of these rhyming skeleton horses. I'm like, challenge me to the battle of rhymes.
cool.
I'm ready. I've got the Dairy Fairy from Barry in my pocket, and I'm here for it.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
So I would imagine
Yeah.
in Wales they probably do like a nightly thing near Christmas.
I would imagine so, like a
It happens
celebration.
the whole
Down the
time
street.
between Christmas and New Year's.
Okay,
And
okay.
The other piece of the wassail, which is even more historic than the Mari, is that they would go into the orchards and thank the trees for the harvest. They
Okay.
would sing to them. They would leave bread that was soaked in wine. And if you don't know, the origin of toasting is actually actual toast and wine. Because let's face it, a long time ago, wine wasn't very good. It was a way
Right.
to preserve the grapes and to have something to drink all year when things were frozen, right? So it was just this like fermented grape juice that was probably like, but
Yeah.
Yep.
what they would do is actually put bread in it. That's even in some of like the old Shakespeare plays. Give me wine with a toast in it. It's the origin of the word toast.
Oh,
So-
cool. I didn't
This
know
is-
that.
Yeah, I'm full of all kinds of fascinating
pretty
facts.
You are. That's why we love talking to you.
That's so wild. I mean,
So yeah, that was the wassail. You would take your wine toast and thank the trees by leaving it as an offering back to them. And I guess you
That's
took
cool.
your Mari Lwyd with you.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume so.
I'm with you,
neat.
though. I do want to see a skeleton horse rhyming.
That would, yeah.
Oh yes,
It's so
How
cool.
that works out.
sign me up immediately
Yeah.
for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So cool. I like that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that you're right. That may be kind of close to one of my. I mean, honestly, the pooping thing was. I mean,
That was just fun. That was fun. Now I want to think of that every time I see a nativity scene or something.
you know, maybe we need to incorporate that in our nativity scene, and you can take a picture of me doing it. I mean, why
I know
not?
that's too much. That's too much for anyone.
Oh man,
Oh, that's so
that'd
funny.
be a nice surprise for our family to come see.
I'm sure
Yeah.
if you go online, you can find a figurine to purchase. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
everything is international now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that big a deal to find things from other parts of the world and have them shipped to you.
Right.
So-
Right.
Awesome.
Well, now I
know, when
also
I was
think about
giving-
that. Sorry. Go ahead. I
Please.
was just thinking about that. The song "Here We Come," but we say it like a wassailing.
Here we
Oh,
come.
yeah.
A wassailing. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Old,
Yes, that is from
So that's
that.
what that's from.
Yeah. The "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" song was actually like a threat. And people
Really?
would sing it in front of, servants would sing it in front of their master's house in the days leading up to Christmas because they wanted to be given extra food and wine.
Oh.
Interesting. So, and
Yeah,
if they're come
there's-
caroling like that, you're like, hey, you know, that's not
Right.
very nice.
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely not what you think. I have not a picture, a drawing of the Mari Lwyd, but it's behind plastic, so hopefully the camera will pick it up.
Yep, it got it.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
That's cool.
I did not picture it that ornate, but that is really cool.
And like the Celtic spirals and stuff.
Yeah.
And the...
Mari is always very dressed up. She's covered in ribbons and ornaments. She's, she wants to look her best. She's showing off how astute she is with rhyming, right?
Yeah.
And one of the other fascinating Mari Lwyd traditions, and I obviously, if a lot of the horse heads now are made of plastic and they're not real skulls, but with the old skulls, they would bury them the rest of the year in the yard of the person who was the Mari, and then, exhume it around the holidays, dust it off, decorate it. I don't know that I've ever found the reason why that tradition was. I don't know if it was just to keep the skull in a known place. I don't know. But regardless, or if there was some cultural significance. But the Mari skull head used to be stored in the earth.
That's wild.
I like that one.
Yeah.
So far, that's my favorite.
It is a very good one. I have to agree. It's pretty special.
And there's no violence involved, so that's always a good thing too.
No, but it sure is pretty cool to think about some horse rapping, doing its rhyme. And like I said, I get like Eminem in there somehow, trying to judge it. I don't know, that's pretty cool.
Well, I haven't looked online in a long time, but I would love to even just see it on YouTube. Something.
Yeah.
I definitely. It's up on my list of things that
someone's
are
bound to animate something like that at some point, especially nowadays.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So another really interesting tradition from Ukraine, actually, since there's so much conflict there, I'll give them a shout out by telling this story, was that there was a family so poor they couldn't decorate their Christmas tree. So spiders came in and spun cobwebs over it all night long before Christmas, so that when they woke up, it was covered in beautiful ornate patterns of glistening cobweb. This is possibly the origin story of tinsel.
Okay.
Or of that meshy netting stuff that some people put over their trees. Yeah. And they say that you could still buy these spiderweb sparkling cobweb ornaments, sort of in homage to these spiders who gave a poor family a beautiful Christmas as part of Ukrainian folklore.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a heartwarming way to bring that together. That's really cool. Yeah, you never understand, or at least I didn't up to this point. You don't know where tinsel came from, except for the fact of the big pain in the what it is to pick up afterwards. But but no, I always wondered where tinsel potentially came from. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
That's actually a lovely story. Yeah. Some of the stories have their spooky element, but they aren't terrifying.
Right.
They aren't I'm putting you in a basket and dragging you back to hell.
Yeah.
or I'm taking an 8-foot frickin' stick and beating the crap out of you too.
That as well. Yeah.
Jesus.
So I'm flipping through my story notes and trying to see. There's one I'm looking for. I really want to share.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just children who were given these cautionary tales, but also women. And I definitely want to share the Christmas vampires. Let me set that aside.
Ooh, Christmas vampires.
Here we go.
Well, it's always a good time for a vampire.
Oh yes,
right.
But, why not have a seasonal Christmas vampire to really shake things up during the season?
Daylight is shorter, the nights are longer. Of course, why not? Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
They're out and about.
Oh, here she is. Frau Perchta is the woman I was looking for. So she can appear as a Scandinavian goddess with beautiful flowing long white blonde hair, just absolutely beautiful, or as a terrifying old crone that looks like what we think of as a terrifying old witch.
Okay. Yeah.
I use that word in a cliche way. It's not actually how I picture a witch.
Of course.
But these are the two appearances. The goddess and the crone of Frau Perchta. Now, in the Scandinavian countries where she shows up, she's coming to look at the lady of the house. She's coming to say Has the lady of the house kept things clean? Is all of the wool been properly spun and stored for the winter? The decorations out. And also, she is the keeper of the animals. So if you leave her an offering, you better not leave meat, that she will instantly kill you if you've killed one of her creatures.
Wow.
This is different in the Yule boar, of course.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But totally different part of the world that this comes from. And basically, if she finds that you're not a good housekeeper, if you're not up to snuff, I mean, this is worse than Martha Stewart. She's going to disembowel you and stuff your body with sticks and rocks and straw.
Yikes.
Yeah.
How about that?
Ooh, that's a rough one.
Right?
Be the good woman and make sure you do all your chores.
Yeah, that's
Isn't it interesting how almost none of these punish men?
No, they're never in trouble. They always do everything perfectly.
But, traditionally we die sooner, so I don't know. There goes that. No, that's pretty awful to think that that's...
The Kallikantzaros punish men and children and anybody, because they're the Christmas vampires.
Yeah.
So some people say they're vampires and some people say they're goblins, but they're shown with the fangs and they drink blood. And the Kallikantzaros come from Greece, Serbia, Bosnia, that area.
Okay.
And sort of the Mediterranean area, right?
Right.
So these critters show up during the 12 days of Christmas. Now, if you're concerned about a visit from them, you can fill your chimney with sausages, which will distract them, and they'll forget to come inside and go after you.
Sausages.
So that's an option, right? You can try that. You can also, paint a black X on your door. And apparently that means they can't come in. I mean, if they're a vampire, I don't know how that could actually stop them, but...
What happened to the garlic and
Right.
the historic?
Well, hang on. We're about to go there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, remember, the garlic came from Bram Stoker. Like, that
Yes.
wasn't very old.
Right.
But if you're afraid that your child has been born a Kallikantzaros, which was a legitimate concern, apparently, for children born between the 24th and the 1st, it was such an offense, apparently, to Christ that those children would become Kallikantzaros. And then when they became of age, they would turn into these Christmas vampires during this time.
Wow.
Wow.
That'd be awful.
Suddenly, Christ has become quite vengeful.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Being pregnant during that time and trying to hold it in.
Right.
yeah, could you imagine the terror?
Yeah.
The sheer terror in these women's hearts. They're like, please don't let my baby be born a vampire.
Oh,
So
man.
the vampires would, of course, punish bad children. Because why not?
Right.
But their main function was to sit outside the door and to wait for cheaters who were cheating on their spouse or partner. They would then jump on their shoulders, dig their long claws into the flesh of the shoulder, and ride them through the woods, punishing them by draining their blood all night long. Now, of course, the vampires had to get back to their home by sunrise, leaving this person just decimated and in a terrible state. So this was the punishment for being faithless.
Well, I mean,
Well deserved.
yeah. I mean, I guess if you're going to do that, you got to take the risk, you know? I mean, yikes. That is, I mean, yeah, that is an interesting punishment for sure. Thinking about
It's another one of those really dark stories, but
It
it
is
has
very
its
dark.
own twist for real.
Yeah.
it's a great story, though.
Yeah, it's definitely got a vibe.
To say the least.
I love how like the Christmas the season is just like about like paying off all your debts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, like all the bad things you've done through the year, it's coming to fruition.
I mean, that's kind of what does happen at the end of the year, if you think about it. Not fiscally anyway, but
And start your new year off right.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to reconcile.
And then somewhere poop on your presents or something. Poop your presents out.
Poop your presents out.
Poop your presents out. I'm never going to forget that, by the
No,
way. That is going to stick in the back of my head forever.
Thank you for that.
Sure. Here, you want to take another look at him?
He's so awesome. That is so cool. I promise you, I will send you a picture. We are going to get one. I want one so bad.
You have to search for that one, I think.
Yeah.
You will have to look around for a bit, but you will find it.
I mean,
I'm sure.
Etsy pretty
Yeah.
much has everything these days, so maybe
Yes,
somebody.
Yeah.
seek and you shall find.
Right.
That's true.
Oh, man.
That's so funny.
You know, I'm trying to decide where to end for you. Should I end with Christmas ghosts or the Belsnickel?
Let's go with Belsnickel because I think that.
Or we could just mention him and
Or, okay, whatever.
skip over
All right.
the Christmas
Okay.
ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 'cause
Because I'm interested in that too.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I have a Belsnickel here with me.
Awesome.
As you can see, he's quite spooky. I have to groom him a little bit. He got kind of messed up in storage. But he's another beater. As you can see, he's got his switch here. But it does have bells on it, of course.
Well, there you go.
So the story about Belsnickel is German as well, and it came to America with the Pennsylvania Dutch, who weren't Dutch, they were German. It was just a confusion of the word Deutsch, meaning
Yeah.
German. So they brought the Belsnickel with them, and Belsnickel shows up, and for good children, he leaves a reward, right? He'll throw down some fruit or nuts on the ground, and if the kids are too eager, he whips them anyway. So there's that. But he announces himself, I always love this, by tapping his whip on the window, not the
Nice.
door of the house. So parents know when they hear that tap, tap, tap on the window, it's
Yee.
time for the Belsnickel to make his entrance.
Ah.
The Belsnickel requires children to pass a test. He's going to ask them something from their studies or their chores just to see how are they doing? Are they learning? Are they progressing as they should? This is how the good children get rewarded. I mean, unless they're overeager and they get beat anyway. But if children aren't keeping up with their various lessons and chores and things like that, they get a good thrashing. But Belsnickel is going to take it one step further. If indeed the children are so bad that he judges they need extra beatings, he leaves whips or switches with their parents to continue the beatings throughout the year.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got this from here. Here's a couple
Yeah.
sticks. You know.
It's like, this kid is real bad.
Right.
You need to keep eating them.
Oh crap! My job is not hard enough. Now you're just gonna have to do it for me because your kid is a major pain in the.
It's like
Yeah.
a medieval, what was that show, The Nanny? They would
Yeah.
come in and
The
teach your
nanny would
parents
come
how
in,
to.
nanny 911 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So Belsnickel is still part of the Pennsylvania Dutch tradition today. Pennsylvania, Ohio, parts of Maryland still have Pennsylvania Dutch, Amish, and Mennonite families that celebrate the season with Belsnickel.
That's so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And again, I will always remember this from The Office. With
The
white
Office, yes,
shirt.
Dwight.
Dwight dressed up as Belsnickel.
Yeah.
And, Belsnickeling became a thing also. Groups of young men would dress up as Belsnickels and roam around the streets being rowdy and drinking and tapping on people's windows. It actually became illegal in Canada because it got so out of hand.
Really?
And that's
Yeah.
pretty bad. You got to pass a law for Belsnickel.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, when you just can't keep it together as a Belsnickel, things go real bad for you.
That's funny.
You know.
That would be kind of be fun, though.
So real quick, the Christmas ghost. I know she wanted to hear a little bit about that. If you don't
Yeah.
mind just
Yeah.
barely touching on it, that'd be great.
So the most famous ghost story in the English language is A Christmas Ghost Story. It is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And the traditional time of the year to tell ghost stories until recently was Yule, winter solstice, or Christmas. Even through the 1800s and the early 1900s, that is when ghost stories were told. It's only been in the past 100 or so years that it's switched to Halloween. Now, personally, I think ghost stories are an all-year-long thing.
Yeah,
Us too.
we agree.
Ghosts are an all-year-long thing. They don't
That's
like
right.
take a break.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
I always say to people, like, your ghosts are lonely. Tell their story.
And absolutely.
But the tradition was on these long nights sitting by the fire, that's when the storytellers of the family would share ghost stories. And in many countries, the ancestor dinner, like we might call it the dumb supper, where you set places for ancestors, happened at solstice, not at Samhain, not at Halloween. Now, there has always been a split. Some places it was done at Samhain on the harvest, other places at the winter solstice. So these two things have always sort of existed and had overlap that most folks don't know about. But the ghost story belonged for most of humanity's time to Christmas, not to Halloween.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to this day, you can still buy amazing short stories about Christmas ghosts.
Oh, look at that.
that's
And
cool.
this is one of many in my collection. I'm showing this one because it's literally my favorite.
Okay.
This has stories by like Neil Gaiman, like all kinds of major authors. Still write Christmas ghost stories to this day.
That's awesome.
Carrying on the great tradition of the solstice ghost story of the ghost in the long dark night.
That's awesome.
I think that's a book.
gonna check that one
I
out.
knew it. I saw that book. I'm like, yep, that'll be in
Yep,
our
that'll be the
collection
next
soon, I'm
one.
sure.
It's an amazing. Well, this is an amazing set of stories, but it's also. It makes so much sense, you know. Now, when you're looking at Halloween or Samhain, it's the end of the harvest. You still have a lot of work to do because you aren't ready to sit around and tell stories. Let's be real.
Right.
You are still putting your harvest up. You're doing your canning, you're drying, you're preserving. All of that work is yet to be done. You know, you don't want Frau Perchta to come and eviscerate you because
Right.
you didn't get it worth, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, from that point of view, it makes so much sense that when the time when nature is at rest, when the winter hits, when it's time to just sort of withdraw, hibernate, sit by the fire, that would be the storytelling moment.
For sure.
And then you have these long, dark nights around solstice.
Yep.
Perfect moment to pull out a ghost story. Whether it's in memory of or an actual haunting, it
Right.
still feels like a really good moment for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It
perfect.
makes total sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, once again, Rissa, that you've blown us away. This is some great stories.
You got so much information. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, Nicole's gonna be so happy. Sorry, that's my nickname for her, but
Yep.
Nicole's gonna be
It's
so
all good.
Yeah. I got caught. Anyway, she's definitely gonna see the Yule thing coming for sure. I'm gonna put that out at some point. But
Yeah.
but no, thank you again so much. You know, who knew? I
There's
didn't know
so
there were
much
so
more.
many.
There's
yeah.
so much more than I thought that there would be.
Yeah, I
Oh
figured.
gosh, I didn't even get to everyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
they're not offended, but no, I didn't get to everyone.
Yeah, in our minds and in our hearts, they are represented.
Yes.
But,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
for
you so
coming
much, and
teaching us and teaching everyone.
teaching our
that's
audience for
listening.
sure.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's no better way to wrap it up than that. Happy holidays to yourself and your family as well. And
Thanks, same to both of you.
absolutely. And we'll go ahead and sign off. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you bet. Wow. That was something else, wasn't it?
So much information.
Yeah, I mean, if you no big secret, there are some pretty hilarious ones in that.
Yeah, there are.
I have to admit, you know, the scary ones, of course, you know, the ones that bring you fear, the Krampus and the things like
Which
that.
I've heard those before.
Yeah,
But some of these others I haven't.
I mean the rapping horse, the horse skeleton.
Well, they're not rapping, just
Well, yeah, rhyming. You know, like I said, I keep thinking of like Eminem. You know, it's like you lose yourself. Or
I like
something,
that
but-
one though.
Yeah, that one's a pretty cool one.
That one's a cool one. I'm gonna have to look more up about that.
Yeah, and of course, I think my favorite one was the pooping log. That was hilarious. I have to admit that gave me quite the chuckle.
Well, you can imagine like families at Christmas time. That's probably a really fun thing for kids, you know, because like we have our elf on the shelf, stuff like that for kids, you know, like we get to set the elf up and do stuff, you know, like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is just like a levity type thing, like a fun thing to do,
I mean, it's like poop on the shoop. I mean,
you know,
what do
with your kids
crazy.
at Christmas, or
Yeah.
you know, holiday, whatever. So
Yeah, they with all those different topics that she brought up, it was so cool. And if you're listening to this on the show, on the podcast, she had a lot of things that she showed. So
Visuals,
yeah, a lot of
yes.
visuals. So that may not make a ton of sense. So if you get time, please, by all means, look at the YouTube video, because the YouTube video is going to show you so much more than obviously than what you heard. But the visuals were cute. You know, the goat.
The Yule goat.
Yeah, the Yule goat was hilarious.
It's cute. It's super cute. I want one now.
But yeah, so this is kind of a wrap for us for a while. We're going to be going on a short little break.
Take our holiday break, spend time with friends and family.
Yep.
Which I think all of us should do. Yeah,
for sure.
You know, we work hard all year, most of us, and you know, you need some downtime.
Absolutely.
It's okay to take that time. I think, especially us as Americans, we forget that it's okay to rest. That's what the winter is for, just like Rissa was talking about.
That's right.
You know, that's what we were meant to do in the winter. It's too cold to be outside. Everything's dead.
Yep.
Or, you know, like it's resting right now. Yeah. So we need to rest with it.
And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. So spend these, you know, days that are the darkest, spend them with your family, your friends, people that you care about, that care about you. It's a good recharge for the next year because time doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
Work doesn't stop. All those things. So when you have an ability to have some time, take it. Yep. Rest.
And I can't think of any better way to
tell ghost stories. Yeah, tell ghost stories. Like she said, tell ghost stories. Listen to ghost stories.
Yeah.
That's always a fun thing to do.
All right, guys. You spend time with your families, like we said. Again, if you're watching this, please like, subscribe. If you're on the podcast, please follow. And we will see you guys next year. Mm-hmm. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Check out our YouTube at Generation X Paranormal. Also, check out our Facebook, Generation X Paranormal Podcast. Love to have you. See you then.